Hey y'all, hey. Give me a second. And I'm gonna share and all this other stuff. I don't know why I don't have this together yet, but I'm gonna get there. So you just wait and you just see. Take this little thing down. Oh, don't y'all worry. Don't y'all worry. I got a song for you and for you and for you and for you. Let me just share this thing. Here we go. All right. Okay, we all shared out. How y'all doing? Hey girl. Hey girl. Hey, hey, hey girl. Hey, 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 hey. It's been a minute. I was supposed to go live early this week. But let me tell y'all, this has been an awful week. I ain't gonna lie to you. But I claim victory in Jesus' name. But let me tell you, uh, I was about to be out here. I'm gonna be quiet. Cause I'm gonna be quiet. The Lord just said be quiet, so I'm gonna be quiet. But besides that, um, I have just been trying to regather myself, pray, get my thoughts together, get my thoughts in order, for what God has for me next. And I'm gonna just leave it at that. Amen and amen. This is your first time on my live. My name is Allyson A. Robinson. I am an identity and purpose cultivator coach. That means that I help women embrace their uniqueness inside and out, no matter where she's from, no matter her background. I'm here to help her remember, and if she never knew it, to learn exactly who she is, who she's been called to be. I work with young girls doing that through different programs. I work with women that are about ages, I would say about 18 to 30, through podcast, blog, and through my live. I know the young kids is on social medias, but I'm not over where they at. I need to get over where they at though, because they need some help too. We all need some help. So this week, if you caught my blog, my podcast, this week my question of the week was, if you're not you, then who are you? And I started off, week one was all about, if no one told you who you were, who would you be? And so this week I'm talking about, okay, if you're not you, then who are you? So week one, I really took a deep dive into reasons why we're not our authentic self, into reasons why we stay in a certain place, we stay in a certain position because we're afraid of being ourselves. We're afraid of rejection. We're afraid of what other people will say. We're afraid of what people will call us. And so we decide, for moments of pain, moments of trauma, moments of, I ain't never going through that again. In those moments by themselves, we create this alternative person. We create this different personality. We go and buy masks, we make masks to hide who we truly are, because in reality, we're not ready and we don't want people to see the real us because it's a fear of rejection. And rejection it's a mother sucker, I'm telling y'all. It is something that I continually deal with and have to continuously battle and get right in my mind. So, rejection is serious and it will cause you to create another person to put on a face for you, because the real you is hurting. The real you doesn't want to be rejected. And so you put forward what you think the world wants to see. When in reality, what the world needs to see is the real you, because you are a limited edition available for a limited time only. And what that means is there is only a limited amount of time for you to be on this earth and do all that God has called you to do. Now, that doesn't have to be something grand. That doesn't have to be something, on stage in front of a bunch of people. That could simply be being the best mom you're supposed to be. That could be being the best wife, you know, um, being the best friend, being the best neighbor. I was talking to um, one of my previous pastors just earlier, and sometimes we get so caught up in the follow me on social media, tag me in this, I got 10,000 followers, which is not a terrible thing, but it's the motive behind it. And I talked a lot about that in my podcast, so make sure you check that out. Are you subscribed to Hey Girls Allyson podcast? If you are not, we are available on Spotify and Apple Music and Google Play and a few other places. Shout out to Anchor FM. This is unsponsored, but I just said that because I like Anchor. But that's beside the point. So today I wanted you to hear from, I don't want to say hear from, because I'm not about to tap into know nothing and have somebody conjure come. I'm not doing all of that. I wanted to talk to you all about who I was. So when I asked the question, if you're not you, who are you? I am going to let you all know who I was. When I wasn't myself, when I was not living authentically as me, when I was not walking in my uniqueness, I had somebody that I put forward. And a while ago, working with a coach, when it came to speaking, when it came to sharing my message and sharing my story, she had us create what was called an avatar, and that avatar will basically be who our audience is, who we're talking to. Excuse me. So the name of my person was Loveless Laura, and Loveless Laura wore masks. I'm gonna read it because I wrote a letter to her actually. It says the mask that she's worn to keep so many people happy in her life except herself. She's so many things to so many people, yet she has no idea who she is to herself. She doesn't know her true value. She finds it in her actions and her deeds. And when she isn't doing those, she has no clue who she really is. She wants to be the star. She wants to be the VIP in the room, but only so that people will admire her and give her a sense of value and worth. She wants to be seen, but for the wrong reasons. Every once in a while, her desire is to be seen as pure, but it gets mixed up in her inner comparison to others who are doing what she wants to do. She has so many dreams, but when she feels as if she lacks in a certain area, or that people aren't jumping in line to partake in what she's doing, she gives up and moves on. She finds value in big shifts and impacts, but overlooks the small ones. So that's just a portion of who Loveless Laura was. So Loveless Laura was birthed years ago. If I really took the time to really sit back and think, the person who I was, Loveless Laura, was really birthed when I was younger. Because I remember, I could tell you a story. I'll tell you one. When I was in kindergarten, there was this, I never forget it. It was this white dress. I know if my sister listens, she's like, here she go talking about this stupid dress again. So there was this white dress in kindergarten. I never forget it. It was white. It looked like a wedding gown, had polka dots on it, right? And there was only one in the classroom. And I had like 15, 17 other peers in the room with me. And so every playtime, I wanted to wear that dress. I felt that I deserved to wear the dress. I don't know why. I don't know why I was in love with this ugly dress, but I was. And so there was another girl in the class who also wanted to wear the right white dress with the polka dots, right? And so we would fight over it. And so for some reason, we gave this little boy in our class power to determine who was going to wear the white dress. And I'll never forget, we had just got up from nap time. This is how crazy this is. Like, I remember this for real. Like, I see it in my mind. Um, he woke up, we were waking up from our naps, and I woke up first. Like, I was ready. I was like, he's going to pick me today to wear this white dress. So we went over to him and we're like, who gets to wear the white dress? Like, we're so excited. And he wakes up and he's like, he says, Rachel. And I'm like feeling rejected, turned down. I just felt awful. So I started walking around my room, classroom, pouting, wasn't listening to the teacher, wasn't following directions. My teacher was like, Allyson, go sit in timeout. You're not listening. So I'm upset. So that was one instance. Then I had another instance. I used to love to sing, right? So I would every Black History Month, I would always do a report on Marian Anderson. And so when I did my report at the end, every single time I would sing. Like I was extra when I was little. So I just know that being extra is a part of my DNA. Not a problem. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, but that's just who I am. I'm accepting it for all the right reasons. So I'll never forget I was getting ready to sing. I was getting to the end of my presentation and I'm sitting there and my voice is getting a little cracky and my hands, no, it's not cracky. My voice is getting all tingling. You know that feeling you get inside like a lump in your throat. And my hands getting sweaty. And just when I took a deep breath to go and sing, this little boy on the carpet, different little boy, I think, says, she's singing again. Boy, my feelings was hurt. I was hurt. And I was really mainly hurt because I felt that singing was a part of who I was. And so when that piece of me was rejected, I took that as rejection from my whole entire self. And when you're four and things like that are happening, when you're facing rejection like that, you really don't have anyone to come to your defense and say, no, you're fine the way you are. If he has a problem with singing, he just has to get over it. And even when people say that to you, there's still this sense of, well, I can't really share that piece of myself because it's going to be rejected, because people are tired of hearing me sing. And so as you come up, that those seeds are planted when you're young. They're planted when you're young, when the enemy knows that you don't really have the mental capacity to defend yourself, right? So it starts young with the seed. So that was the seed planted, a small piece of me being rejected. And so as I came up and different things started to happen, it just built on top of one another. Like it was just rejection after rejection after rejection. And so what Loveless Laura realized was, okay, well, if they don't like that and I need people to like me, I need people to accept me, I'm going to start pretending to be something I'm not, so that way people like who I am. And so when I got into middle school and I got into high school, those were the things that I focused on. Okay, what do people like? Okay, I think I can be that. Let me try. And so Loveless Laura started to form all of these masks. And if you really think about it, depending on where you are in your life, there are, and you may not have, this person may not have access to your whole life. It may just be in certain surroundings, it may be in certain groups of people. This person, this alternative personality kicks in. It's almost like an automatic thing. Like you don't even realize you're doing it until you're in the midst of something, in the midst of a situation. And the real you in the back of your mind is thinking, why did you just do that? Or thinking, this is stupid. Why are we here? You know, you always have that voice in the back of your head that's saying all the things that you are internally feeling, but the outside of you is still trying to portray this image so that you're accepted and not rejected. And so Loveless Laura continued to do some damage in my life. And I allowed her to, because I was afraid of the real me. I was afraid to show other people who I really was. Excuse me, mainly because I had already been rejected very young, and it continued to happen. And a lot of us deal with rejection. I'm not saying that I'm special and I'm the only person dealt with rejection. A lot of us have, even from a young age. You know, you got rejection before you even came into the world. You know, if your parents were pregnant, if your mom got pregnant um, before her and her spouse got married, or if she was a single mom, sometimes that regret sets in early and that gets into you while you're in the womb. And so you come up born into this world facing rejection, because deep down, you know, not because you're not a great person, not because God didn't ordain you to be here, but sometimes there's regret if parents are not prepared for you to come into the world. And so you come in rejection, and the enemy just builds and builds and builds on top of it, and you create this alternative you, not just for rejection. Rejection is a big one, but another reason could be trauma. You know, if you experience something when you're younger and people are taking advantage of how young you are, the first thing that you do as a young kid is you try to act the opposite of who you were, or you completely detach from the real world, so that way that thing that happened to you does not happen again. And we get into that, we try to separate ourselves out from the real world, mainly because we don't want those experiences to happen to us again. And so we come up thinking that this is who we really are, when in reality we made a decision. We were 4 or 6 that said to us that we try to put out into the world, this is who I really am. And that's mainly because we're trying to protect the young us that was violated. We're trying to protect the young us that was hurt. We're trying to protect the younger us that went through pain and it wasn't our fault. And I said in my podcast, and I think my last video, what we have to understand, even as parents, because I'm a new mom, as parents, we have to know, we have to pull our children to the side, and we have to let them know that things that happen to them are not their fault, that their innocence was abused, that somebody took advantage of who they were, and it's not their fault, so that they don't feel the need to have to protect themselves. We have to let them know we're their protector. Even though we can't be everywhere all the time, we still have to let them know that no matter what, you are still protected and you're still safe to be exactly who you've been created to be. So I didn't have that, not because my parents are terrible or anything, but that wasn't something that I gained. And so my rejection continued to set up years down the line. And I end up getting, fast forward to college, where I have compromised on my beliefs. I've compromised on things that I know to be true. I've compromised on things I know to be the right way of going about things, because I've been trying to fit in. And after a while, one thing you'll notice when you are putting on this fake persona, one thing that you'll begin to notice is you get in too deep if you're not careful. So fast forward into college, my freshman year of college. I'd had boyfriends before, but this is my first college boyfriend. Like maybe 2 months in, I had a boyfriend, right? So um, I got in this relationship with a guy, and within a few weeks, lost my virginity to him. Mind you, I lost my virginity on the bathroom floor of his dorm room. But that's a story for a whole other day. So that already speaks to how I saw my worth and my value. My worth and my value was placed in, like I said in this letter, it was placed in the things that she did. And so if I want you to stay and I want you to know that I care about you, I need to provide some type of action that you like for you to be able to know that I love you and I care about you. And I'll compromise what I believe in, I'll compromise who I am just for you to know that I love you or just for you to know I care about you. And so me ending up on the dorm bathroom floor losing my virginity was a sign of that. That was Loveless Laura stepping in to take over, to give away a very precious part of herself because she felt she had to do that to gain love. She felt that she had to do that in order for somebody to appreciate her and love her and cherish her. So a lot of Loveless Laura's story and a lot of who I used to be, a lot of the story that's behind that is simply fueled from feeling like I needed to do something to earn love, feeling like I needed to do something to earn respect, feeling like I needed to do something to earn someone caring about me, someone choosing me, feeling good enough. And so it was a back to back decision that ultimately led to this one where now I knew, okay, I'm in college, everybody here is grown. And so the grown thing to do in a relationship in college is to have sex. And so I just tapped right into it, even though deep down, that's not something I wanted to do. I did want to wait till I was married. The real me wanted to wait until I was married because I knew that it was precious, but I didn't value myself enough to know that when you know that it's precious, that means that everybody doesn't get access to it. That means that somebody that just came into your life, somebody that's just coming around, does not deserve access to it because they say, I love you within the first few weeks. Let's be real. Let's be real about it. So, continued in that relationship. It wasn't awful. He was a very wonderful gentleman, definitely caring, but it got to the point that I was giving of myself so much. There were times I'm literally on my side, like staring at the wall, just allowing whatever he needed to do to get done. And it's not that he was doing anything that I wasn't giving consent for, but that continuously goes to show what my value was placed in. Even though on the inside my skin was crawling, on the inside I felt awful, on the inside I felt disgusted, I wanted it to be over. But the Loveless Laura in me kept saying, but if you don't do this, he's going to leave you. If you don't do this, he's not going to care about you and accept you as his significant other. So you need to just continue to lay here. And that's exactly what I did. And even in the moments where there was a time I was like, I think we should just give up having sex, period. Let's just stop. Then we started arguing more. So I was like, he gonna leave me. These arguments are bad. He's gonna leave me. I just need to keep having sex with him. And that's what I told myself. That's what Loveless Laura was convinced of. If I allow him to do whatever he wants to do to me, then he's going to love me. He's gonna continue to care for me. He's not gonna leave me. So I stay around and I stick around and I keep allowing things to happen to me because to me, my actions are what's keeping people around, not simply being who I've uniquely been created to be. Because she's sitting in the back of the room somewhere, head bowed, looking terrible, because the real me was sitting in rejection and afraid to show my authentic self simply because she had been rejected from the time she was 4 or 5 years old. And nobody came around to tell her you're worth something, you're valuable. Yes, people rejected you, but that doesn't take away from your shine. Nobody was there to tell me that. And so as I continued to experience rejection, nobody was teaching me how to deal with rejection. Nobody was telling me it doesn't matter what other people think. What other people think of you is none of your business. Nobody was telling me that as a young girl. And so to me, what people said about me was a direct reflection of, I guess, what they were getting. And so if people rejected me and that is based on what I'm giving them, then let me give them something different so the rejection stops coming. And so I started to change myself. I started to be accepted a little bit more. And if then there was a piece of me that people started to reject again, I would go in and I would change that around too. Okay, so I tried to be funny, but I wasn't really telling good jokes. So let me take that out and let me put in the fact that I can twerk really good. This is my first time ever twerking. So let me put that in. Oh, people want to dance with me now. People love to come and dance behind me now in middle school and I'm dancing. So let me keep doing this. Even though I'm only, what? How old are you at middle school? 11, 11, 12 years old. Why am I out here gyrating on some little boy? Why? And all people like, that's part of the culture. That don't have to be part of the culture. I definitely don't want my girls doing it. Jesus Christ. I don't even want to think about that. I don't even want to think about my kids doing it. So, um, so after we ended up breaking up towards the beginning of my sophomore year, I got into another relationship. Now this relationship was a little bit more emotionally abusive. We would be fighting, and then before we walk out the door, he would say to me, fix your face. We don't show our problems in public. So that was the type of relationship I was having. And this one was also fueled by sex. It was also fueled by just being presenting something fake that wasn't really going on. Like we would present to the world that we were happy when deep down, like I was crying on the inside for somebody to come and get me out. But for some reason, I stayed. I said to myself, I need to stay with him through this. I need to stay with him through these problems. He gonna treat me better. It's gonna all be all right. No, it was a hot mess. But Loveless Laura stayed because she felt, and I said this before, many times we will accept what other people give us simply because we don't know our value and our worth yet. And also because of the mistakes we've made in our past and what other people are telling us we are not. When that starts to happen, what we do is we accept what other people give us, no matter what it is, simply because we're trying to accept something. We're trying to accept what everybody else is giving us because we don't really know what we have on the inside anyway. And so we just go about life and we're just accepting what people are telling us we are because we're not sure of who we are. We're not secure in who we are. We don't know our true identity. And so we're just going around accepting what other people give us because we feel like that's what we're worthy of accepting. Like if you're a kid that went to a low income school, inner city, many times a lot of people, unfortunately, don't have a lot of positive things to say. And so if you allow those things to really feed you and you don't know your identity, you're unsure of who you've been called to be, you accept those things into your life and you say, okay, they must be right. They got degrees, they've seen this before. So them telling me that I'm not that good, them telling me that I might end up in jail, them telling me that I'll just be, the only time I get money is when I sell drugs, them telling me that, and me not knowing my identity and me not knowing that there's a true purpose in me that God wants to get in the earth. When I don't know that, I just accept what other people give me because I don't know my value. So if you're giving me something, anything you give me, I'm grateful for. Any identity piece you give me, I'm grateful for. And I'm going to do my best to live up to what you're giving me because you may not give me anything else if I show you my authentic self. You may not want to be my friend if I show you who I really am. If you knew my real quirks, if you knew the real things about me, you may still reject me. And I don't want rejection. So I'm going to just accept what you're giving me because I think that's all I'm worth. When in reality, you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. But if nobody's telling you that, when the rejection comes, you immediately tap into who you've created to be your alternate personality and representative in the world, while the real you sits in the background, allowing somebody else to live out your life for you. And it's a dangerous place because if you're not careful, you get in too deep and you don't want to come out. If you're not careful, you keep putting up these false identities. You keep putting up this fake person to live your life for you because you're afraid of rejection. Excuse me. What ends up happening is a few things. You end up changing who you are on a consistent basis. So there's no consistency in who you are. You're all over the place. And if you feel like that deep down inside, then many times you're probably living a false identity. You're not living as your authentic self. If you feel like you're always being tossed to and fro, you feel like you cannot be settled in anything, you feel like you can't make a really good, strong decision, it's because you're truly not living in what you're supposed to be living in and living as the person that God created you to be. And you have to be careful of that. So you'll either walk around confused or you'll put in so much effort into this new person you've created that you get in so deep that you don't want to come out. You get in so deep that you don't want to be your real self. Oh, thank you so much. Somebody say, love my hair. Thank you so much. You get in so deep that you know the moment that you try to come out, somebody's going to have something to say. And you don't know how to combat that. You don't know how to say, well, I really don't care what you have to say about me. I'm gonna continue to be my authentic self. Like I know people got a problem. I think about Kanye West all the time, right? So Kanye, we all know what's happened with Kanye, right? So Kanye has really given his life to Christ. I believe him. I know. I feel like he's definitely in his like I'm a new Christian phase where he's like going hard for the Lord. And I pray it continues. I pray it continues for real. So Kanye West has made this drastic shift over to being um a God, like I don't want to say a gospel artist, but really giving his life to Christ. Like everything he does, he wants it to be in alignment and in obedience of Christ, right? But everybody has a problem with Kanye West because he's choosing to do that. Because everything they want to bring up is his past. And that happens to us a lot of times. We want to be our authentic self, but we already know we've gone in too deep in another area of our life where we weren't being our authentic self. And when we get in too deep, we already know somebody gonna have something to say. We already know they're gonna have something to say. Because I think about myself, my junior year, so skipping past my sophomore year, terrible relationship. My junior year, I had no boyfriend, but I was out here dotting, y'all. I'm telling y'all, it was not great. I was just giving my body away because I had gotten my body in this rhythm of, oh, I need to feel wanted. Oh, I need to feel desired. Oh, I need people to pay attention to me. Oh, I need people to accept me. And the way that I have been telling myself for these past 2 years to get that is by giving myself away, is by engaging in sexual interaction, sexual intercourse. That's what I was telling myself. And so I'm dropping my standards completely. Like, you know how you have a list of stuff that you say you ain't never gonna do? Nah, I kicked that list out the door because I said to myself, I need to feel accepted and wanted, and I'm not in a relationship, so I need to get it from somewhere else. And so that's what I was doing. So I'm dropping my standards so low. I remember it was one time I'm out here in another state. It was somebody's homecoming and I meet a guy, don't know his last name, end up sleeping with him. Stupid. Stupid. Then I ended up with a friends with benefits. And that was stuff that was completely beneath me. Beneath me. I told myself I would never do that. But when you're not living as your authentic self, you'll do anything to gain what you need. And what I needed was attention. What I needed was people to see me. What I needed was people to accept me. I needed all of that. And so I did what I had to do. I tried to mute out the deep voice on the inside of me telling me that what I was doing was unsafe, telling me that what I was doing wasn't good, telling me that I was worth more than the things I was doing. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I try to be trustworthy. Look, I'll tell y'all in a heartbeat. I don't want nobody went through what I went through, including my worst enemy, because it's not worth it. Me not living as my authentic self is not worth it. Because I end up now having to forgive myself, work through my healing, but then not only that, now I gotta break all type of energies, all type of soul ties from the people that I did give myself away to, and then allow God to rebuild me. And that's not an easy process. But if I had stayed in the mentality of, well, this is all I can be at this point. I've slept with too many guys. There's nobody that's going to commit to me. Nobody could possibly love me after doing all of this. No man is going to sit up and say, I'm going to love you in spite of your past. If I would have stayed in that vein, if I would have stayed in that mentality, if I would have allowed Loveless Laura to continue to run my life, I wouldn't be married for 7 years with 2 kids, traveled and lived abroad. I wouldn't be doing any of those things if I kept on that same mentality. And so no matter what identity you've taken on or what mask you've created, you are never too deep in to come out. You are never too deep in a certain personality. You're never too deep in a way of life that you didn't want to be living in the first place. You're never too deep to come out on the other side and start living as your authentic self. It's never too late. It's never too late. It's never too late. I just want to keep saying that. It's never too late for you to continue, for you to walk in your uniqueness. It's never too late for you to be all that God has purposed you to be in this earth. It's never too late. The only time it's too late is when we take our last breath. And I don't know about y'all, but I got a whole lot of life to live. I got angels around me protecting me. I got life to live, and you have life to live. And so we cannot get caught up in the person we've created to protect us. which is the person that we put forward, the personality type we put forward, the mask that we put on in different areas and different arenas of our life. We have to get to the point where we say, I value myself so much that whether you like me or not, it's okay. Because how you feel about me is truly none of my business. Unless I am harming you, hurting you, being reckless, if I'm just being my authentic self, I don't have to change for anybody. Because this is the way God made me. This is who God made me to be. And sometimes it can get murky because you're trying to decide, is this, while you're allowing another person to live through you, you're creating this personality, you have to ask yourself, is this really me, or is this a part of the person I've created and allowed to live my life for me? And it could get murky in there. But what I believe is, whatever is consistent in your life that you can trace back to when you were young, excuse me, that is who you are. That is a true piece of your personality. Like, I was extra when I was 4, like flat out extra. Matter of fact, my mama spent maybe almost 2 days in labor, so I had to make a grand entrance. So obviously, I'm extra from birth. I was extra when I was 4 years old, singing Marian Anderson. Who does that? Me. I did it. So I've always been over the top. I've always been extra. I've always been dramatic. So when I was allowing Loveless Laura to have her control, the real me would show up. But sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of times, the motive behind it was not okay. The motive behind it was for attention. Now that I've come to my real self and I've looked Loveless Laura in her eyes and told her she had to go, and then I was taking the reins back over because she was out here living reckless. The moment I did that, I started to recognize, okay, I am extra, but we're gonna be extra because it's a part of our personality. We're not gonna go above and beyond just for attention. We're not gonna go above and beyond just because we want people to like us and people to notice us. And so it did have to come to the moment. I'll never forget that friends of benefits I was talking about, right? So I he's dropped me off to my dorm. He lives off campus. He dropped me off to my dorm. I'm taking my little walk of shame, scan my little card in, walk up the steps, trying to creep, walk past my old best friend room, creeping, praying she not in her room or she don't come out. Make it in, my roommate sleep, thank the Lord. So I go to the bathroom to do my little ritual whenever I'm done doing something stupid. Go in, wrap my hair, get in the shower, try to scrub myself clean of everything that just happened. But in this moment, it was different because I really looked at myself. And I'm not just saying, you know how you in the mirror and you twisting your hair or you wrapping your hair and you get glimpses, you look in your eyes a little bit, but you really focused on your hair. So I was doing that. But then there was a moment that I looked for too long. I looked for way too long. And when I looked, I did that little, like, you know what dogs do sometimes? They just kind of confused about what they see. And so I'm turning my head back and forth, trying to figure out who is this person looking back at me. Because she looks like me on the outside, but something going on in them eyes is telling me everything I need to know about who this is. And I stepped back and I even said to myself, not myself, I said out loud to this mirror, to this person in the mirror, who are you? And I literally had no clue who I was looking at. Eyes still brown, still got lashes, eyebrows a little rough. But when I looked in the eyes are the gates of the windows of the soul. And I looked in my own eyes and had no idea who was staring back at me. That's when I knew I had lost control, that I had given Loveless Laura too much power and too much authority in my life because she was wrecking it. And I could no longer see even the faintest glimpse of myself any longer. And the fact that I could look in the mirror, still see somebody that had my skin color, had my hair, everything, and still not know who it was two things. One, it was a big problem because I was allowing her to live too much. I was allowing her to continue to be reckless to protect me from rejection. But see, what ended up happening was the stuff that she was doing was far worse than the rejection I had experienced. And I don't ever want any of you to ever get to that point where the life that you are living is more hurtful, is more reckless, is more It's just worse. It's just worse than the rejection you experienced, or it's worse than whatever you experienced, whatever pain, whatever trauma you experienced in your life that caused you to put forth this personality at the beginning. When your life is worse than that, you have lost control. You've lost control over decision making. Because, even if you're out here wearing masks, there's still pieces of you that show up. Even if you're out here pretending to be something you're not, there's still a piece of you that shows up every once in a while to kind of help keep you on some type of track. But I wasn't on any track. I was off somewhere else, and I didn't even recognize myself any longer. And it was in that moment that I knew that I had to take back the reins and I had to take control, because the person that I had created to protect me was now hurting me and was now taking me completely off the path, was taking me into a place where I was not safe, was taking me into a place where I was just in reckless behavior. And many times that happens. And so it's like, how do I know if I'm living a life? How do I know if I've created a persona to live for me? I'm going to tell you. If this person, if you, let me say if you are engaging in abusive or destructive behavior, that is not your authentic self. Anything, that brings more pain, anything that brings more anything that brings more pain, anything that brings more heartbreak, anything that makes you look crazy on a consistent basis, that is not you. That's not who God created you to be. Why would you continuously put yourself in harm's way? Why would you continue to put yourself in situations where you know you're not going to come out on top? That's reckless behavior. I was out here sleeping with people I didn't know. That's reckless behavior. So because I know that's reckless behavior, that's how I know Loveless Laura was the one living, and I wasn't living any longer. Do you feel yourself pretending? So many times, and I'll say it for myself because maybe this don't apply to nobody else. I know when I'm pretending. I know when I'm faking who I am. I know when I'm being fake. My husband will call me on it in a minute. He be like, "Oh, you so fake." He like, "I think I need a little bit of that." Like, he'll call me out in a minute. Y'all, I'm telling you. So if you know that you're pretending in front of people, if you know that who you are in that moment, if you know that the person that's coming forward that you're presenting as yourself is not really you, you're pretending. That's how you know a false person is living for you. That's how you know you tapped into, okay, I don't feel like dealing with this. I need you to come. And you call that person forward to start living for you. That's another way. When you are in a safe space, so safe space means it could be a spouse, it could be a pastor, it could be a best friend. When you're with them and you know exactly the kind of person I'm talking about, do you feel like that you act differently? Do you feel that you're safe? Do you feel like you can do whatever and say whatever and not feel judged, not feel like somebody's looking at you a different way? And even if they check you on something, it's still okay, and you don't fake anything, you don't feel like you have to put on a persona to pretend. If you do that with your safe person, that means that you are definitely living a double life. You're letting this person you created live for you on a day-to-day basis. If you only feel safe a few times when you're with that person, definitely. Um, when you look in the mirror, this is a deep one. When you look in the mirror, are you happy with who you see looking back at you? And I'm not talking about looking at your body. I'm not talking about looking at your booty. I'm not talking about looking at your hips, lips, and fingertips. I'm talking about when you look in your eyes and you see into your soul, are you happy with the person staring back at you? If you're not happy with the person staring back at you, that means that you've been allowing somebody else to live for you. That means you've been allowing somebody else to live through you because you're not happy. You're not happy with what you're seeing. And we've all had moments like that. We've all had moments where we look and we feel regret, we feel shame, we feel bad for the person that we are. We're starting to think of all the mistakes that we made. If you're doing that, you're not living as your authentic self, because you should be looking in the mirror and seeing a work of God. You should be looking in the mirror and seeing somebody so amazing that you know the world needs to know, not just because you want to be famous, but because you know that you are awesome. And anybody that comes in your path, you're going to brighten their day. They're going to brighten your day. You're going to exchange the brightness of days because you're walking in your purpose. You're walking in your authenticity. You're not worried about what other people are saying. You're just being you. That's when you know you're living as you. If that's not the case and you look in the mirror and you want to cry, or you literally avoid looking in your eyes on purpose for too long, you've been allowing this other person to live for you. But let me tell you the blessing in that. If, like when I had that moment with the mirror, when I looked and I saw Loveless Laura, right? Loveless Laura had been wrecking my life. Real talk. The beauty in that moment, even though there was pain in it, the beauty was there was still some remnant of the real me left. And it was enough to recognize that there was an imposter staring back at me. That's the blessing in it. Excuse me. If you're listening to this and you already know that who you've been living is not your authentic self, that's a blessing. It may hurt a little bit, it still stings because you're saying to yourself it's wasted time. It's not wasted time because the real you is still active, and the real you still knows how to get your attention and say, hey, it's time for us to start being ourselves. The real you steps up and says, hey, this has been going on for too long and it's time to heal. The real you says, hey, what you're allowing the other person to do is causing us more harm than good. It's not protecting us anymore. It's not keeping us safe from rejection. It's actually turning our life into chaos. It's time for us to tap back in and tell her she can go. And maybe that's your moment now. Maybe it's your moment to go in the bathroom or pull out your mirror and look in your eyes and let that other person know, I'm taking the reins back. I'm going to walk in who I've been ordained and created to be. It don't have to be nobody fancy, because the beauty is just walking in your own identity and knowing your worth and knowing your value, whether it's with stuff or not, whether it's with fame or not, whether it's with 50K followers or you ain't got no followers because you deleted your Instagram, whatever it is. Knowing your worth sets you apart from the majority of the people on this planet, because a lot of people on this planet don't like who they were created to be. And so they go through the motion of changing and rearranging who they are simply so that they can fit in and be accepted and not rejected, because the real them was rejected at some point. The real them was hurt at some point. And so they needed to create this alternative personality to protect them from that ever happening again. And we make those vows. This will never happen to me again. We get out of bad relationships. We say, I'll never dedicate myself to a man again. I'll never give myself in a relationship again. And so we act reckless in relationships. We ruin relationships. We ruin intimacy. We ruin all of that with our significant other, simply because we told ourselves that we never allowed it to happen again. And what we forget is it's not just the heartbreak that happened, but it's also everything that led up to that moment. It's the commitment, it's the relationship, it's the giving, it's the sacrificing. And so when you say, I'll never let that happen again, you're talking about everything that applies to a relationship. And so you wonder why you can't get in a committed relationship. And so you wonder why you be acting so crazy in these relationships. And you wonder why people like, no, stay away from her, she crazy. Or no, stay away from him, he crazy. It's because we have put on this new persona to protect ourselves, when in reality we are harming ourselves. And so I challenge you, go have a Loveless Laura Allyson moment. Go have a mirror moment, a mirror reflection. Are you happy with what you're seeing? Not just on the outside. The outside counts as well. Because sometimes we abuse our bodies with food, drugs, smoking, alcohol, because we don't value ourselves. We're still trying to protect ourselves. And so we're trying to protect ourselves from feeling the pain, feeling the emotion. So we numb it down. And as we numb it down, we're numbing down who we really are. And whether it's drunk Al is your person, or your avatar, or Hi Michael is your avatar, I don't know. But when you tap into those spaces to numb yourself, you are still not being your authentic self. And so it's not too late. It is never too late for you to be your authentic self. Explore, ask God, who did you create me to be? Because if you're looking in that mirror and you're not happy and you're avoiding eye contact because you already know what you're going to see, let's stop ignoring the truth. Let's stop ignoring who we know God has called us to be. And let's stop ignoring the fact that the person that we've allowed to live for us is doing us more harm than good. What you thought was once protecting you is now the thing that is hurting you, and now the thing that is harming you. So it's time to be your authentic self. So if you're not you, who are you? And I even challenge you to give them a name. Give them a name. Mine is Loveless Laura. She was loveless, really identityless, purposeless Laura. And those are the things that she did. And she rises herself. She comes up every once in a while. Every once in a while, I'm like, that was not me. Let me, Loveless Laura. Bye, bye, bye. You got to go. Bye. She still comes in because I still experience rejection, and so I have to be mindful not to allow her to take full control again, because my life matters. And the minute that I decide to not be my authentic self, I do a disservice to this world, because the world needs what I have, even if it's simply being a mom, even if it's simply continuing to be a teacher. The world still needs what I have, even if it's I touch the one who then touches the millions. So be you. If you're not you, who are you? Give them a name, call them out, tell them to go. It's time to take over. Because that is truly where your power lies, is in your authenticity, your uniqueness. Because that's what sets you apart. You looking for something to set you apart. You looking for something to help people to know you better. It's simply being you. That's what matters. That's what counts. That is the thing that separates you and will continue to separate you for the rest of your life. All right? I love y'all. Thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed this broadcast, please share. Please follow. Make sure you, I don't know, can you subscribe to this channel? I forget how to, I think you can subscribe. I'm not sure. But follow me on here. I love y'all. Thank you for joining me. Think about that challenge. Let me know how it goes. You can follow me on Instagram, hey girl underscore, it's Allyson, Allison. Twitter, hey girl underscore, it's Ally,Ally. Excuse me. Facebook, hey girl, it's Allyson. Follow me. Let me know what you think. Let me know how it's doing. Let me know what God reveals. All right. Love y'all. Peace.